Speech off.
Hey there everybody, Blind Rob here, and starting today, I am a new substitute host here on Starting Out Solitary. I am so excited, I am so stoked to be here, to be part of the team, to add my own point of view, to add my energy, and to share what I can with from my personal experiences and from my personal practice. On the occasions that I am able to, as a sub host. Of course, you will only see me when one of the primary hosts need to take a break. Either because they're busy, something comes up in their life, or breach hopes never happens, but it does happen on occasion. They just get ill, they become ill, and health gets in the way, and so that's when us subs come into play, and also you'll also see me around if and when we get a full team of sub hosts. I will definitely be a part of the sub host week when that comes back again. So anyway, I've been watching this channel more or less since the beginning. I say more and less because my ability to watch YouTube videos, let alone participate in the YouTube community in the past few years, has been wonky at best. But this channel was one of about 30 some channels that kind of kept me going, kind of inspired me to get back to making YouTube videos. And it's so it's kind of appropriate that I'm here as a sub host now. Yeah, it's been years since I've been a part of any kind of collab channel. The last one that I remember being on specifically was Pagan Perspective, and that was back during its early days, back in 2010. Almost a lifetime ago if you think about it. Anyway, enough of that. That's not what you want to hear from me. You want to hear who am I, what I'm about spiritually, magically. So let's cut to the chase and get to that. So my name is Robert, but most people call me Blind Rob, and that's not just because I'm actually blind, which I am. I'm mostly blind due to an eye condition called cone rod dystrophy. However, I'm referred to as Blind Rob by most people, especially in spiritual metaphysical communities, for two reasons. For one, whenever I'm in a group of other pagans, witches, magicians, mystics, so on and so forth, polytheists, etc., there tends to be more than one Rob or Robert besides me. There's been times it got to the point where they need to hand out nicknames to the various Robs and Roberts that were around to kind of distinguish between them. I remember one time I was in a group, actually the very first time this happened, I was in a group, and the group conversation on Stickam, when that was a huge thing, back in sort of the earlier days of the pagan YouTube community here, 2008, 2009. That was when I first started. And we had a Christian pagan by the name of Rob, and then there was me, and they're like, well, that guy is Christian Rob, well, we'll just refer to you as Blind Rob, and it's kind of stuck since then. And it's not just an online pagan thing. I've been at local pagan festivals, pagan gatherings, that are like, hey, you're Blind Rob. The second reason why most people refer to me as Blind Rob is because regardless of whether or not I mean to, I kind of live the stereotype of that sort of typical, almost trope-like blind sage, blind spiritual person. He can't see physically, or the person can't see physically, but they can see in spirit. They can see to a certain extent to the other side. They have special knowledge, special insight into the other side, into the other world, because of, or as a part of, their physical handicap. Like I said, I don't mean to live that stereotype, but yeah, I'm pretty much a walking, living example of that stereotype. I'm from West Virginia. I've lived in West Virginia most of my life, except for the brief 3 years or so I lived in Canada between 2012 and 2015. Well, the second half of 2012 and up until March of 2015, give or take. I'm bisexual, I'm bigender. As far as pronouns go, I use both male and female pronouns, though obviously I use male pronouns more so than anything else. It's the beard. Yeah, so any other non-spiritual metaphysical things I should probably share about myself before I get into that aspect of my introduction? No? Well, I mean, if you have any questions, feel free to ask down in the comment section below, and I will do my best to respond in kind. Oh, yeah, I kind of forgot. You will be able to find me on my own personal channel of Blind Brighidine Bard. I will most definitely post a link to that down in the description box. Okay, on to my spiritual and metaphysical practice. Okay, so I've been a practicing pagan of one kind or another since 2001. I've been practicing some form of Irish paganism, Irish and Scottish paganism, since 2006. And there's been other forms of paganism that I've also practiced, like I practiced Asatru or another form of Norse paganism for a few years between 2011 and 2014. That was more or less alongside my practice of Irish paganism. I practice a sort of recreated, reconstructed, revived form of pre-Christian Irish and Scottish folk religion, folk tradition, and folk magic. Most people who practice some kind of form of Irish or Scottish, or even Manx for that matter, folk religion, folk tradition, folk practice, will use different terms, different words, a lot of them sort of semi, if not completely traditional, to describe their practice in the native language of the culture that is the focus of their practice. I'm no different. The term I use in Irish to describe my practice is more or less Brighidine. I'm still very much learning how to pronounce Irish, how to speak Irish. I'm very much an amateur. I only recently got my hands on a audio program that will help me learn how to pronounce words. It's a work in progress. Actually, at this point, I'm actually a lot better at writing and reading Irish than I am speaking it, which isn't saying much, but hey, whatever. So what does Brighidine means? It basically is the Irish equivalent of Christianity if you take out the Christ part of it and, add in Brig, or the Irish Scottish Bridget, as she's known in the way of pronouncing her name in English. I've been a devotee of Bridget or Brig since 2006. I have a very personal and intimate relationship with her. And it basically surrounds and penetrates and impacts and consumes every fiber and every aspect of my spiritual faith, my spiritual practice, from what I believe to how I do magic, all the way to how I live my life in other ways, even mundane ways. Of course, other terms that are also applicable is Brighidine paganism, Brighidine religion, Brighidine spirituality. Of course, not everyone who's Brighidine is going to follow a quote-unquote Irish or Scottish, folk religion. I've met plenty of Brighidine people who were Wiccans or were non-denominational. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't really have a term to describe their practice. Like, Bridget was it. That was basically it. I've also met a lot of folk Catholics who practice some form of folk Catholicism, who are very much venerate, honor, and to a certain extent even worship Saint Bridget. Of course, I'm very much a hard polytheist, but at the same time being a henotheist, meaning I very much believe in the distinct individual deities with their own personal agency, personalities, and power. But for whatever reason, I only worship Brig. Actually, the reason why I worship her specifically and exclusively is because of a spiritual, metaphysical taboo and restriction she placed upon me. We'll probably talk about that in a video on my personal channel sometime down the line. So my form of Brighidine spirituality / Irish and Scottish spirituality is very much held together in a mostly traditional framework. So it's like, in some ways I'm a Reconstructionist, though I don't, unlike a lot of people who come even close to using that term. I don't use it as the primary methodology of my practice. I'm actually a very liminal being. I have one foot in the Reconstructionist camp, and I have my other foot in the sort of ethereal, mystical, woo, if you will, personal gnosis camp. And I don't quite fit in either one, and I can't help it. I am what I am, and I am what I am. But yeah, like, I'm very much a believer that the foundation of my spiritual household, my spiritual folkway, should be firm and rock solid, but the roof should be sturdy, but otherwise should be comforting. It should not be so rigid that it becomes brittle, in my mind. So while I do incorporate a lot of traditional, Irish practices, Irish folk beliefs into my worldview, in, just all over the place in my religion, and especially when it comes to folk magic, I'm also inspired by and affected by and influenced by Appalachian folk magic as well, specifically the Irish and Scottish side of things. I'm from West Virginia, so I'm kind of influenced all around, but at the same time, I do my best to be very respectful of what it is that I allow into my practice, and to leave out the parts that I find very inappropriate, or that I shouldn't really be doing anything with it, or I shouldn't be touching it. As far as metaphysical or magical practice goes, I've been a practicing bard since 2016, and by magical or mystical bard, I'm very much a poet, a lyricist, a singer, though a large portion of my singing capability has been in decline for the past few years. I hope to regain some of that back, but not sure if that's possible or not. But not just in the mundane sense, but also in the magical, mystical sense, of creating praise poetry for people, for deities, for otherworldly beings, curses, for spell work, for trance work, for spirit journey. As a practicing bard, I am a student of and a practitioner of, to as much as I can, of what is referred to as filiac, which is traditional, is an old Irish tradition and practice of otherworldly, ethereal, divine, inspirational poetry, prophecy, trance work, spirit work, and a bunch of other similar things, all interconnected, all interwoven in very interesting, unique ways. And that has basically been the focus and the majority of my knowledge and my experience with magic, is either through filiac, through my practice as bard, or just general Irish and Scottish folk magic. It's actually been something I've been focusing on and incorporating a lot more in the past few years, now that I've got my hands on consistent and reliable sources. So yeah, it's processed. Though I've also been incorporating a bit of Irish folk witchcraft in the past year, so it's actually very new, and I don't really have too much to say about it at the moment, but I just figured that you should probably know about that as well. It's a thing, it's a part of my practice, it's something I'm still very much a fledgling, it's very much fledgling with. It's something that I'm working on building and adding as a permanent and strong aspect of my magical metaphysical practice. It's just going to take time. Seeing how a large part of my practice, personal practice, either from a traditional point of view or just personal perspective, because while I do incorporate a lot of traditional Irish and Scottish things into my practice, there are sometimes, and to a certain extent, pieces and bits of it that are just personal, just things that I've learned as I've gone along, and I've incorporated while trying to be as respectful from where I got it, where it came from, and whether or not it truly belongs to my practice. I do a lot of various different otherworldly and ethereal practices. I've used those words a lot in this video, but it truly describes a lot of what I am and what I do. Excuse me. A lot of people would describe those kind of practices as sort of shamanic or shamanic in nature. I personally do not use those terms, and I definitely do not consider myself a shaman for a number of reasons. Mainly, I just don't feel it appropriate. It just really has nothing to do with the culture of Ireland. It's, you know, the Irish and or Scottish culture. Look, I'm not judging other people who use that term. So many different people use the term shaman and or shamanistic, or however you pronounce it, to describe themselves and or their practices for a whole host of legitimate and valid reasons, and I'm not going to judge them for that. I'm just saying, in a lot of ways, what I do and how I practice things is in some ways very similar, but in some ways are very different and very unique. Like I said, I'm a hard polytheist, though, yeah, I believe I said that. Yeah. I've been doing a bunch of videos tonight, so I'm kind of like losing track, but yeah, just in case I kind of forgot or I didn't, I'm very much a hard polytheist. I believe in the personal, individual agency and power of deities. I'm very much animist. I believe in, I don't know if I necessarily believe that everything has a spirit and or soul, but I definitely believe in the likelihood or the probability that if not everything, then almost everything has some kind of spirit or soul to it. I think I covered just about everything I wanted to talk about in this. I'm pretty sure I left out a few things. If I did, I do apologize. But I'm fully aware of the fact that there's already a primary host on this channel who practices a form of Celtic spirituality, and his videos are awesome. And I think one of the cool things that I definitely want to do is I want to definitely provide a sort of different perspective than his. But, well, you know, obviously because, you know, coming from, you know, different backgrounds, and especially different focuses and different influences and different specialities as far as the, you know, the Celtic culture in question. So I'm coming from a very both modern as well as traditional, or as much as possible traditional, sort of Irish-Scottish mix sort of practice. And in a nutshell, trust me, I could go into explaining more of it, but we'd be here forever, and I know I would probably get in trouble for that. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video now. And I do apologize if I forgot anything important that you felt that I should have explained or described about myself. Yeah. Like I said, I will definitely post a link to my channel, Blind Brighidine Barn, in the description box below. Come check me out there if you will. And I can't wait to see you all next time, to talk to you all next time, to communicate with you all and share my personal own perspective, my own point of view on the topics that we tackle, especially as sub-hosts. Anyway, I want to thank all the hosts for welcoming me onto the channel, and I will talk to you all here soon. Take care. May Breach bless.
Speech on. Take picture. Stop recording.